Yes, let's talk about the boxes.
Excited. Yeah, I think she was going to bring them and not talk about them, Miss Kim.
Okay.
I was hoping maybe she'd move it up in the line because I'm really excited about it.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm so excited. And thank you, Kim, for having me. I'm on this journey of trusting my big ideas. And so it's one of those things where I was like, let me just send an email and, create conversation starters.
Right. We appreciate you coming so much. You're welcome back. I was going to say, welcome back at any time, maybe later in the summer. There may be more, come back again, we'll plan it. But yeah, we appreciate you coming.
Yes. Awesome. So again, my name is Tameka Mitchell, and I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm an author, I'm a motivator, and I feel like motivation is my superpower. So the book that I came the first time was My Super Mom and Her Sidekick Crew. But I also have a book titled Mom, You Did It, which is my love letter to mothers. Because I know that we do a lot of work for our families, for our communities, and sometimes we don't give ourselves the grace that we need. And so I wrote this book because after I had my son, who's 6 now, it was overwhelming. Everybody tells you how hard it is and how tough it is, but I wish there was something that just provided me an extra oomph of support. Not that I didn't have family around me, but it was moments where I felt alone, I felt discouraged, and I didn't understand what the next step was. They gave me the baby and said, go be great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, what now? Yeah.
What now?
Yeah.
And so later on, I found out that there are resources that can help with like postpartum support, and I thought this would be a great conversation starter. The reason why I have it as a board book is because you can throw it in a diaper bag. If you spill something on it, you can wipe it off. But it's just
the great pictures, the babies like to flip through it.
The babies like to flip through it.
Yeah.
You could flip through it and make up his own story.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Many kids love to do that. It's so fun.
Indeed. Yes. And so I have a copy on the table, but the boxes are for the most engaged person in the room. So the boxes, the Mom You Did boxes, include a copy of the book and one of the signature candles that I have.
Oh.
And so it's a fragrance called What Are We Doing? Motherhood Concierge. Because half the time, we don't have all the answers, but it's a great way.
If that.
Yeah, so that's what's inside of the boxes. But today it's just having a conversation. There's nothing formal. You can be as open as you like, or just listen if that is your preference. I want to just provide a space that we can just unpack our birthing experiences. Kim and I were talking earlier, and it was just like, if you haven't had a chance to talk about it, it seems like it was yesterday. It's one of those things that you never forget.
That's right, and never will. My first question, I think, when you said that there were resources that you were aware of, whether it was right after you had your baby or whatever, what was the best one that you found resource-wise? Like, you mean like a community resource type thing, or what was your go-to, I guess, is my question, like more than anything. What did you find?
Great question. So, of course, like with the baby, it was the app, what to expect.
Yes.
They give you an idea of the baby. But for mom, it was Postpartum Support International.
Okay.
And so it's called PSI, and there's a Georgia chapter. I went to Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies. They had a site where you can just click on the app if they had like virtual events or in-person events.
They have like chat rooms and
They
stuff
have
like
chat
that.
rooms, they're on
Okay.
social media. So those are the places that really helped me. And I actually created my own support group as well called Maternity Motivation.
Okay.
And it was about 5 years ago where everything was hitting the fan, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
Diaper changes, meltdowns, all of those things. And I was like, you know what? I said, if I'm going to do something like this, I'm just going to give some motivation. So I turned on the camera and I just was talking about encouragement or how my day was. And so there's this community where we could share as much as you'd like, or if there's resources that I found from the 2 groups, I'll dump that into social media, just so that we can have a space of not feeling alone.
Yes. Yeah. That's so great, especially young moms that, their friends may not be having babies yet, or, whatever the situation may be. That's so nice to have, just to have people that have anything in common, whether it's one little thing or a bunch. It's so nice just to go, oh yeah, me too, and then you kind of get talking and going, and that's so nice. I love it.
Yeah.
That's how Aaron.
Oh, really?
Gordon and Edith's mom?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was it on an online?
No, it was here.
Oh, here, and that's another good resource.
Yes, the library.
Yeah, the library. Story time, baby time, all that. Yeah, and you make really good best friends that way,
Edith was super due on the same day.
Yeah. Oh, that's so neat. Now, my daughter only has one, and she's 19, but a very, very good, very best friend that I still talk to 2 to 3 times weekly is where I met, was at baby time here. 19 years ago, well, probably 17 years ago. I think Gracie was 2. And we met here, and she was so sweet because it was my first time, and I was just kind of like walking in like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And she walked over to me, sweet, and she's still just that sweet, but and we still talk, and it's like, how neat is that? Like, our kids are getting ready to get married, and one's already in college, and mine she's working 3 jobs, and you get ready to go to college. It's just like, and we still talk, and our babies are this big. I think that's so neat, and that was before any of this was built up. It was like before reconstruction of this building happened, and it was
Georgia was a very different library back then.
Yes, yeah. Do you remember the round couch that used to sit here? Little baby couch, and it was completely round. You could take it apart. The kids loved it. They loved climbing over the back of it.
My little brother kept getting in trouble for it.
Yeah. So that was, but yeah, that was so fun.
Because we moved out here in 2000, and he was 3.
Okay, yeah.
This has been our library for 24 years now.
Yeah,
nice.
So great.
Where are you originally from?
I was born in Florida.
Okay.
But my dad was in the Air Force.
Nice. We're having already some connections.
Oh yeah, my dad was Army. Well, Marines Army, but yeah.
I'm ex-Air Force, and I moved here from Wyoming, and this was the first library that made me feel uncomfortable. I was going through, like, I didn't have any family here. And actually, these ladies became my family.
Yes.
They see me like being a new parent and stuff, and like just coming and having a place where I could be around other women who we're all just trying to do the best that we can, and have a moment where our children are engaging in something that gives us time to connect with each other.
I know when my oldest was born, we tried story time or baby time here. I don't know if you remember Bonnie.
I do. Yeah, Bonnie's actually at Crossroads.
Yeah. But it was when she was the Jen here.
Okay, yes.
Children's specialist, that's
way
what
back,
the
yes.
title was. There was only one other kid here. My kid was like a month and a half old, but I just needed to get out of the house.
Yes.
And the other kid here was almost 2. So it was
it was a handful for you, I bet, though,
So we wound up going to higher up for a while, because their baby time had more people.
Right, yeah.
And most of them were still babies.
Yes. That was maybe before they split up the baby and the toddler, or was it all together?
Baby time, it was baby sign baby time, so it's already baby and toddler separate.
Yeah.
And then we came back here when Peyton came here.
Okay.
So I did both for a while.
Yeah.
On different days of the week.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yes, and I mean, you mentioned so much. I mean, we've all talked about how, like, having that sense of community is so important. Using the library and the resources that are available to meet other people, or even to just get out the house. If you have maternity leave or not, or if you're going to be staying at home, but still the walls can feel like they're closing in.
I actually quit my last job before I found out I was pregnant with my oldest, because we were supposed to be moving to Boston for my husband's job. That fell through about a week before I got my pregnancy test.
Wow.
So we moved back here from Conyers, because my parents live like a half mile from here.
Okay.
And we live a mile in that direction.
Wow.
So you had your community right next to you. Nice. So Shamir, like, how for you? You mentioned like this space was home from moving from Wyoming to Georgia. Like, how was that transition?
It was actually really stressful because of how my second came into the world. He was supposed to be due in December, and he came in September. We were supposed to be in Georgia, but we were en route to Georgia. And we ended up stopping in Texas along the way. And thankfully, we had friends who lived in Texas, and they were.
So he was born on the way.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we were staying that weekend with them. Wasn't he? Yes, he was in the NICU for a month.
Do you think it was the stress of moving a little bit?
I wasn't stressed about moving.
Yeah, just.
So it was, I don't, honestly.
You didn't think you were stressed about moving. Maybe your body was,
Actually, maybe, but I mean, like, me personally, I'm like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
My placenta was 30% more.
Oh, yeah, that probably had nothing to do with moving.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know how, like, they don't know. Yeah. And it was.
Wow. And that's an emergency
situation.
That's
a right now.
Yeah.
C-section or?
No, he came.
You were induced?
No. Well, yes, they did have to induce me. All of it was so stressful that it felt like I was not in my body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I felt every single thing. It was just like, I was just like watching it all happen.
I know what you mean.
But, yeah.
That's what it was like with my youngest. He's out there with my husband now. He was due June 8th. May 3rd, I went to the hospital because my blood pressure was like 190 something over 110.
Oh, wow.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And we didn't have insurance.
Oh.
So he was born on May 4th.
That was similar to
I picked his name in February.
Oh. Tell me, I forget his name.
Luke.
Yes. Okay. I was thinking of your other. Yeah.
No, Gabriel?
Yes.
No.
Gabriel.
He's a January baby.
Mine.
I made the point to point out the fact that we picked his name in February because he was born on Star Wars Day.
Oh.
May the 4th. Yes, May the 4th.
No, it took us 3 months to pick his name, and I wasn't going to change it.
Oh, see, it all worked out. And you mentioned blood pressure. Like for me, like my son, he's 6, and that was something similar for me. Like I was going in for a normal routine, and I was just like, okay, we're going in. They're like, oh, your blood pressure is high, and I'm like, okay, well maybe you should drink some water or sit down for a second. And I'm like, okay. They're like, oh, we check it again, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna have to go to the hospital because you're about to be induced. And I was just like, but no.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got a conference call.
Yeah.
They're like, no ma'am, no ma'am.
How early was your son?
He was only like a week. He
Okay.
was a week early. By that time, they're like, girl, like,
it's time.
it's time.
Something similar happened with my oldest. He was due end of January, I think the 27th. Well, at that point, he was due 27th. His due date changed later. But I went in on December the 4th for a normal checkup.
Yeah.
And then I spent the next 3 days in the hospital. Like, I went to the doctor's office with just my purse and a book, and that's it.
And that's something that we probably need to like create a notebook or a guide. Like everyone talks about have the bag ready, but what happens when you just go in for the normal checkup?
Oh no! After that, every checkup I had the bag ready.
You had the bag ready?
I did the same thing for that one. He was due in June, and in February I started bringing the bag.
Yeah.
Because in February I went to the hospital because I was having contractions.
Now the first
And you're not supposed to be having contractions when you're 22 weeks.
No.
But if you are, something's up.
Yes. Now let me ask you about with your first.
Yes.
Or if it's your only for everyone. Did you know you were having contractions when you were having contractions?
Yes.
So yes.
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 The first one, no. The second one, yes.
Okay. So tell me more. Tell me more.
Okay, let me tell you. So my daughter, I called my doctor. So this was 2 weeks before her due date. And I had a doctor's appointment that morning, and I was just like, I'm miserable. And she's like, oh, you're done, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to check you real good. And she's like,
I was speak remembrance?
Well, she didn't say that she did, but I'm feeling like she did because she said, okay, if you're gonna go anytime, which I feel like you are, and like she said, your bag of water is like bulging. She said, if you feel like you're gonna, if you know, it'll be soon. And I said, okay. So my appointment was at 9 o'clock that morning, and by 3 o'clock that afternoon, I felt like I was in labor.
Right.
And so I called, the number that they give you, call when you're going to head to the hospital. And I called and I said, hey, I feel like I need to go ahead and go to the hospital. And she goes, go to the hospital when you can't call me anymore. And I was like, all right. So she's like, you're calling me? You ain't ready. You're not ready. And I was like, okay. So I called my husband. I'm like, yeah, just go ahead and come home. And he's like, okay. By the time he got home, not that long away, I couldn't talk anymore. She was right. I was in such intense, don't touch me, don't talk to me, don't look at me, and then got in the car and went, and he called her on the way. And that was at like 5, and I had her at 10:04 that night. But it was like we talked about earlier, they came in rushing, like 5, all white, come in, they're like, we need to get you on your hands and your knees right now. I guess my blood pressure and the baby's heart rate was dropping, so they're like, you need to go on your hands and knees like right now. Well, I already had an epidural, and I'm like, how am I supposed to do that, So they come over and flip me over real quick, and they're like, okay, they're looking at everything and giving me a shot in this arm and like doing everything, and I'm just like looking at my husband like, what is going on, and he's kind of over there like, because the way they rushed in, it scared us to death. So they sweep me off in my bed and say, emergency C-section right now. Wouldn't let him in whatsoever. Go into the operating room. They've got my arms tied down. I see the tube get ready to go, like put me to sleep, the whole 9 yards. And then the doctor's like, wait a minute. And everybody just kind of gets quiet. Everybody's looking around. And she goes, we're not going to do it. Her heart rate's coming up. We're not going to do it. It's not going to be an emergency. And I was like, ooh. So they untie me real quick. They wheel me back into my room. Sitting there. My husband's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. And so they pulled me back in there. And after I just like took a deep breath and got relaxed, they come back in maybe 5 minutes later. They rush back in. All right, we're going to do a C-section. It's not going to be emergency, but we are going to do a C-section. They said that my body was pretty much doing one long contraction. I wasn't giving the baby any rest in between, and she didn't like it, and that's why her heart rate was dropping. So we're going to do it, and we're going to do it quickly, but it wasn't going to be an emergency to where my husband could come in and all that kind of stuff, thank God, because that's one thing I did not want to happen, I didn't want to be knocked out, first of all, because I want to see my baby more.
Yes.
But I wanted him to be there with me. That's not how I wanted to do it. So praying, and it worked. So we went in, everything just like you would see in a normal C-section. You know what I mean? He was there. He got to see her, blah, blah, blah. Hold her first, bring her to me. It was beautiful. But it was a little crazy. Spent 4 days in the hospital, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it was great. But, it was something. It was something. And she was 2 weeks early. She was supposed to have been January 21st, and she's January. No. Yeah, she's supposed to be the 21st, and she's the 7th. So, but yeah, it was great. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it was just interesting. It was interesting. Everybody has their birth story,
I know.
It's interesting. I love it. I love telling it. I love to have people that will actually like listen to it, because a lot of times when you start to tell a story, whatever, birth story, whatever, it's like, oh, but wait, this what happened to me. You know what I mean? And it's nice to be able to finish the story when people going, I know what you mean. Like I know that mine's similar to that. It's so nice.
Yes.
So, I get it.
Mine is nothing like that.
Now, did you have a C-section or regular? Okay.
So after that 3 days in the hospital in December, I had an at-home blood pressure monitor. Had to keep track of it. Had twice weekly doctor's appointments, one with the regular OB, one with the special OB, the high risk one.
Yes.
a high risk one did ultrasounds every week. I had NSTs every week.